My hope and my prayer in being here is to see the flame, see the light of God, see the burning bush, because we are brothers and sisters in covenant. We are brothers and sisters from the start.
This is Bishop Robert Stearns. I'm here on Mount Zion in Jerusalem. The Mount of Olives is just behind me. And Solidarity Sunday 2025 was an incredible coming together of Jews and Christians standing in solidarity together, declaring never again. I want to invite you to join me as you hear the speeches, the testimony, the witness firsthand of Jewish leaders who are standing strong and proud in the midst of attack, in the midst of this rising anti-Semitism. They are raising their voices, and we are forming a wall of protection around them. Join me as you hear their amazing stories.
Such an honor and a privilege for the Gospel Tabernacle to be chosen as one of the host churches for Solidarity Sunday. Come on, we can just thank the Lord for that. Amen. Amen. And it is such an honor and a privilege to have Rabbi Joshua Stanton with us this morning. Rabbi Stanton drove from Brooklyn, New York this morning. And I asked him if he could please consider spending the night, and he says, I've got to get back. So he's driving back to Brooklyn today. But he wanted so much so to be with us today. And he is a covenant friend of our friend, Bishop Robert Stearns, many, many years. I don't have the words to express to you, my brother, what an honor it is to have you. And we honor you, man of God, today. And we thank God for you. And we bless you today. Can we put our hands together and welcome Rabbi Joshua Stanton?
So I have to tell you, in more ways than one, I would not be standing before you were it not for faithful Christians. My grandfather was born in Germany in the 1920s. By the 1930s, it was very clear that things were not going to be okay for him. And so his parents tried to find a way to get him out of the country. And try though they might, the only person who managed to get him and ultimately his parents and his sisters out of Nazi Germany was a group of faithful Christians, part of the moral rearmament movement in Britain. He is one of the only people I know not only to escape from the horrors of the Holocaust, but to do so with his entire immediate family, all because of faithful Christians like all of you. So when you talk about me driving 10 hours today, that is nothing. Christians literally saved the lives of all of my family members, without whom I would not be here. So when I talk about us being brothers and sisters in faith, having not just a common history, but a common path and destiny, I speak from personal experience. And so yes, we're going to be talking about Israel. And yes, we're going to be talking about learning together and sharing together. But I actually want to start with the complicated and difficult stuff. And that is because we have, in a real way, the relationship of siblings. Now, I don't know about you. My brother is my best friend, but that was not always the case. Almost the entire book of Genesis is all about the challenge of being in family together. God is giving us permission not to find it easy, but to stay in the sacred work of family and of friendship. Yes, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you love your neighbor as yourself, but all the more so, we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. And that is powerful. And that changes lives. And it changed the life of my family. But it is not simple. And so we gather today to begin the process together of taking steps into this relationship. And we do so perhaps fittingly in the Jewish lectionary cycle with the story of Moses, who did not know he was a Jew. And he goes out into the desert, and he actually goes and studies with the person who would become his father-in-law, who was not Jewish. And it was out in the desert, not with a bunch of Israelites, that he went and he saw the burning bush and he found his calling. So I have to tell you, I feel the Spirit as much here as anywhere else on earth. It is like a burning bush moment, because sometimes you encounter God the most, not when you're a Jewish rabbi sitting in synagogue, but when you're a Jewish rabbi going to church. And dare I say, all of you are also welcome to come to my synagogue. And you might find God, you might find Jesus, actually when you dialogue and deepen your relationship with Jewish people. And so my hope and my prayer in being here is not to say you need to be Jewish. You need to be really good Christians. My hope and my prayer in being here is to see the flame, see the light of God, see the burning bush. Because we are brothers and sisters in covenant. We are brothers and sisters from the start. Now, just twice in the Torah, once in Exodus 3, which we just read, and once with Abraham, do we come across God saying the name of a person who is going to do something really important twice, and that person responding by saying, Hineni, here I am, with fullness of heart and spirit. This time with Moses, God calls out to Moses twice in Exodus 3:2, Moshe, Moshe, as though Moses didn't get it the first time when God was calling to him. He might have gotten it up here in his mind, but he didn't understand it in his heart, so God has to repeat it. So Moses understands that, yes, this is a relationship of the mind, but it is a relationship of the heart and the spirit and the entirety of Moses' being. And Moses comes to see, and it's a beautiful turn of phrase in the Hebrew, V'hasnei einenu uchal. The bush, it wasn't, and in the Hebrew, it wasn't eaten. Kind of an interesting turn of phrase. It was not consumed. It was not eaten. That bush was burning, but there was no way it would ever disappear. And in my mind, before all else, of course, that is the perfect notion of an eternal God that is like fire to us and will never disappear. And dare I say, that is also like the nature of our relationship as brothers and sisters in covenant. Yes, there are times when it is not easy to be brothers and sisters. There are times when we wrestle, when we struggle, when we don't say the right thing, when we don't know what to say, when we don't say anything at all. But the bush was not consumed. It is still alight with the flame of relationship and connection, with brotherhood and faith, with an idea that anything is possible with God's help. And today, my friends, we are here together, and I just want to say, really on behalf of the Jewish people, thank you for your solidarity. It's hard to describe from the depths of my being how much it means, because I have never felt more isolated as a Jewish person in America than I do today. For the first time in my life, I can say, I'm glad my grandfather did not live to see this, because I have never encountered on the streets of Brooklyn, in college campuses, in schools, in workplaces, even in hospitals these days. Some people are declining to treat Jewish patients. I have never encountered hate like this, and I can only imagine what my grandfather would be saying if he were here, because I fear that it would be awfully familiar. But what is different is this type of friendship and solidarity. And yes, we do have common enemies in this case. The same people who kidnapped and held innocent Israelis and Americans and people from all over the world are the reason that Gaza used to be 15% Christian and now barely has a couple of hundred Christians left. The same radical folks have driven in the last 20 years, an estimated 2 million Christians out of the Middle East. And they are the same people who are trying to get rid of the state of Israel today. Yes, we have the same enemies in terrorists and fundamentalists and people who wish us all harm. But ultimately, we are not, as Jews and Christians, going to gather in hate. We are going to gather because of the strength of our love. And you are testament to that love. You are the reason that Jews are not isolated today. You are the reason that we live with hope for our future in America. You are the reason that Israel has such hope, because during the Second Intifada and during these dark months since October 7th, a lot of people have stopped going, but not faithful Christians. When anyone in Israel hears me speaking English, even with a kippah on, they assume I'm an American Christian because you have been so faithful to Israel. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, please know that Solidarity Sunday, yes, it's a reason for you to be in church, but it means the world to my community. Every single one of you lives up to the highest ideals of Christianity, to be sure, but also of Judaism. And I want to relate the words of a Jewish poet, Chaim Nachman Bialik, proud Zionist. Atem hashomrim hane'emanim letzelem Elohim ba'olam. You are the guardians of the image of God forever here on earth. Because you are guardians, because you protect the image of God, because you protect your brothers and sisters in faith, you are walking the walk of Christianity. And what I'm telling you is that your Jewish brothers and sisters are ready to walk it right alongside you. Thank you all so very much. Thank you to Pastor John. Thank you to Gina. I want to thank Judge Stephen and Marie as well. I also have to say, Bishop Robert Stearns is one of my teachers. And being a rabbi just means being a teacher. So it's kind of interesting being a Jewish rabbi, having a Christian teacher as my rabbi. Very interesting dynamics there, but kind of beautiful. And I want to bring up your parents of blessed memory, Dr. David and Lorraine, because they so inspired my teacher that he became a teacher to thousands. And the reason that I'm here, yes, is because of all of you. And yes, indirectly, it's because of your beloved parents of blessed memory, because they were teachers to my teacher. So I have to tell you, now you're my teachers too. I want to conclude with a word of blessing, if I may. Would you feel comfortable standing? So this is the first, you probably know this as either the priestly blessing or the Aaronic blessing or the prayer for peace. In the Torah, this is the first blessing that human beings give each other. It is affirmation of the fact that when we live the faith, we can in fact be a blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May God shine God's countenance upon you and be merciful to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God never for a second turn away from you and always grant you the gift we know of as shalom, of wholeness of mind and body and spirit. And on this sacred day, this Solidarity Sunday, of family, of friendship, of community, and of brotherhood and sisterhood with the Jewish people. As together we say, amen. Amen. May God bless you all.
These stories, these testimonies are overwhelming. It's amazing to hear the strength, the perseverance, the resilience of the Jewish people. I want to invite you to join me and come alongside our covenantal older brother in faith, the Jewish community. You can do that by going to eagleswings.org and becoming a partner today. You can plant a tree in Israel in our forest of life, an amazing, amazing forest that literally the desert is blossoming as the rose. You can feed hungry Israeli families through our Abraham's Bread feeding program. There's so many different ways for you to be involved, but let me hear from you today. Make your best gift today and ask your church to be involved in next year's Solidarity Sunday. All of the information is there in the link. We are believing that hundreds and hundreds of churches are going to join together every year and understand that never again is now, and we have to be a part of that solution. I look forward for your prayers, your giving, your partnership, making a difference in this generation. Solidarity Sunday, be a part of it.